Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is really good, surprisingly so. I was excited for this movie based on the excellent animation from the trailers, and when I saw it opening night, I was very pleased for how great it was, from the narrative to the jokes to, of course, the stylish animation. There's so many other great elements to this movie, but today we're gonna focus on the villains. The Last Wish provides a three-course feast of villains. Goldie and the Bears had a shocking amount of heart, showing a great example of tragic and redeemable villains. Death pushed fear to a new level, making a compelling and thrilling villain to represent an idea without sacrificing characterization. But then we have the funniest of the three, Big Jack Horner.
Behold, Excalibur! 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 Yeah, I couldn't get this rock off of it, but it's still pretty cool, right?
Jack Horner is really funny. Really funny. He's effective in keeping the story moving, the perfect card to play when things are just calming down a bit. When people are talking about the villains of this movie, there's an interesting sentiment I've seen come up relating to his character, or as some people imply, a lack of one. Audiences have been praising Jack's simplicity as a villain for being a quote-unquote classic bad guy who's just evil for evil's sake. And while the character is simply evil and irredeemable, the movie makes a big point of that, as it does a little bit more to contextualize him that I feel some audiences are missing. Now, the people who praise Jack Horner like this mainly have in mind the villains of the Disney Renaissance from the 90s. They were iconic, they were entertaining, they were very evil, but weren't exactly tragic figures. Jack Horner does fit in with them, but not for the basic reasons. We know who Jack is by the end of the film. He's embarrassed by his past, he developed insecurities that led him to pursue all the magic in the world, and he treats nothing around him with any respect. But isn't that not what I was describing the 90s Disney villains to be? Explaining the why and their motivations for being evil? Well, plot twist, the 90s Disney villains actually did have motivations to their actions. Scar wanted to be the king and felt slighted because a little child had more priority for the throne than he did. Gaston wanted to marry Belle and was racist against furries. And now we have Jack Horner, who wants all the magic in the world for himself because he took everything for granted he had as a kid. The point I'm trying to make it here is that just because your character is pure evil does not mean you can't flesh them out. I mean, a lot of early MCU villains are pure evil, but most of them have no motivations, no personality, just no character to speak of. Jack Horner isn't great because he's just a simplistic pure evil for evil's sake villain. Jack Horner is great because he's a great execution of a comedic villain. For any antagonist, villain, hell, any character period, it's all the execution that makes us love them. All I'm asking for is, let's think a bit harder about our media and understand why we love or hate a character archetype so much before throwing the entire archetype under the bus and generalizing.